What is up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you my NFT generator for Blender. Now I have actually worked on a few projects to create a collection in Blender, so I know the hassle it takes to develop a collection. I've kind of used that experience to recreate this add-on because previously we've been using scripts. So now I've just implemented an add-on to make it a lot easier for anybody who does want to use Blender to generate their collection. Now, the assets that I'm going to be using are also available on my store. I'll have both the links for the add-on and the assets in the description, so make sure to check that out. There's currently two options to get this add-on. You can either get it for $10 on my site, or if you buy 5 of my NFTs, which is currently valued at $7, you can get this add-on for free. Now there will be options in the future where NFT holders get added benefits. So this is a future investment if you want to use more of my assets. So make sure to check out those two options. If you do get the NFTs, make sure to send me your wallet address in Discord and I'll give you a free discount code for my site to get the add-on. Let's get into the video. So the first thing you want to do once you've downloaded the add-on, you want to go into Edit, Preferences, and then go to top right, click this down arrow, install from disk, and then look for the file. So it'll be called Good Luck Have Fun, NFT Generator.py, hit install, and then you can close that, everything should be good. Now when you press N on our keyboard, your add-on should be on the right here. If we go down to NFT Generator, this little panel will pop up. Now just taking you through the setup and process, I'm just going to take you through the file structuring. It's very simple, it's how you see it. There's nothing technical about it, which is one of the main reasons, because I find a lot of other people who have done NFT generators make it way too complicated, and it's just best to keep it as simple as possible. So we have our mannequin and their name. So these would be your traits. So if you're using a body, it would be green, purple, whatever you name it. So we have those. Then we have our tops. So all of these tops are available on my store. So if we just run through them quickly, you can see we have these all labeled. Now, once again, this is what your traits will be called. And then your trait category will be the name of the collection. So you have bottoms, tops, mannequins. One thing to note before you start your generation is in the outliner, just make sure that you have all of these icons turned on, because when you go into preview, it will miss some, but it doesn't affect your generation at all. So just take that into consideration before going into generating your collection. So once you have everything set up and you're good to go, the first thing you want to start off is with collection details. Now this isn't very necessary if you are maybe changing your JSON files for the metadata. This is purely structured for Solana, but if you are wanting to work on a different blockchain, please let me know. I'll update a new feature so you can select which blockchain. So right now it's just purely for Solana, but I do definitely want to add more blockchains to this collection for metadata purposes. So the next step is to open up the traits. So once that drop down has been clicked, you'll see add collection and remove collection. So we're going to hit add collection and it will automatically detect from the outliner what collections you have. So I'm going to go ahead and add the bottoms. Now it will automatically set up all the layering for you, so you don't have to manually insert that. And then we have the rarities. There's rarity of the category, and then there's also rarity of the trait. So maybe if you don't want bottoms to appear in every single generation, and maybe you only want 50%, you can set that to 50 by sliding or just pressing and going 50. I'm going to keep it 100%. And then for all of these, you can set your rarity as you wish. If you want to set them all to the same number, you can go down to the bottom or the top, select and just drag up, and then go to the left and it will automatically select those traits, and then you can adjust it. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to set it to 5.5. So this will be the rarity. So every time I generate an NFT, there's a 5.5% chance of one of these items being selected. Now we're going to add another collection. So we've already added the bottom, so let's add the tops, and same thing apply. So let's select them all and set this to 3.3. So that's that entire collection added. And then we want to do one more collection, and let's go mannequin. Hit OK. and that should be good. I'm going to set this to 25. And now if you want to add or remove a layer, you can simply just click the cross icon on the right and it will remove it. And then if you want to add one, you can go down to the bottom, press add layer and add it back in. So that's the trait system for you. Very simple, very easy to use. We do have exclusions as well. If for some reason one layer is overlapping another one and you don't want that to happen, you can add these rules in. So for example, let's go add rule. We're going to say when the active pants are selected, we're going to exclude, let's look for maybe the top. It's going to exclude that. So every time we generate a NFT, the active pants are going to exclude the collar. You can do this multiple times. You can add a new rule or add an exclusion. So if we maybe want multiple tops to be excluded when active pants is selected, we can add another one, so on and so forth. So we have our exclusion set up. Now we need to go to our export details. So the cool thing about this add-on is I've set it up so it generates one JSON file, which you can reload in and redo your generation. So if you're happy with what the generation looks like, and maybe you don't have a high-end PC, what you can do is you load this JSON plan and then you can say start generation from 1 to 50 or 1 to 100 if you have 2000. And you can do it in sections, so you don't have to run the generation once off and then it loses the data and then you're screwed. So I've set it up that there's a JSON file that it gives you and then you can work off that JSON file. So your renders stay consistent throughout the process. And you can always regenerate a new JSON file every time if you're not happy with how that looks, so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and select our output path. So let's click this little file icon and I'm going to select in my NFT generator folder, press accept. And then we're just going to do, for purpose of this video, we're just going to generate 100 NFTs. So if you have a 2000 collection, NFT count will be 2000, etc., etc. But we going to do 100. So once it's done, we can go down to the bottom here and say generate JSON, and you'll see at the bottom it says exported. Good luck, have fun, _plan to the folder of our output path. So once that is done, we can go to load generation JSON and then select that JSON file. So now it has been set up, our collection has essentially been generated, and now we can start generating renders as well as JSONs, and we also have the option to export the 3D file. So once we've finished with our export details, we can now have a look and see what the NFTs are going to look like before we export them. So let's go down to preview. So in the preview section, we have number 55 of 100. This just shows you what number 55 is going to look like out of the 100 NFTs. Now, the reason I have set this up is because lots of times from past experiences, we've run through the generation and then we're like, oh Philip, we need to change this, we need to change this, we need to change this. So this just allows you to do that before actually doing the generation. So you can see if there's any overlapping garments, if there's any assets that might be showing up that shouldn't be, as well as making sure your exclusions are working correctly. So you can just run through this and have a look and see what it looks like. And if you're happy, you can move on to the next step. Once that's done, we can go onto the renderer. Now, there are two modes for the renderer. We have Eevee and final render. So obviously, if you're working in Eevee, you can just keep it as Eevee. If you're working in cycles, I do suggest doing an Eevee render before running the final render, just because you can see if you're happy with what the entire collection looks like. It's a lot quicker. So if you're doing 2000 collections, you can render that entire 2000 collection like at a fraction of the speed when doing it in Eevee as opposed to cycles. Then we have image formats. We have a bunch of different image formats to export to. And then we also have the 3D export format. Now, the 3D export format is quite a unique feature because you can essentially get an OBJ or a FBX of every single file. So maybe if you want to create a unique experience for your collectors, that when they get the NFT, they also get the FBX file. Now, you can obviously get it rigged or whatever, but in my case, there's nothing like crazy going on, but people can then also like put their avatar or garments in unique situations and take it like a next level in terms of customization. So we have that selected as well. So I'm just going to hit FBX and do an Eevee render, and we're pretty much good to go. Except if you want to render, as I mentioned previously, if you just want to do a smaller section. So here we have from 1 to 10. If you only want to do 5, you can change it to 5, or if you want to do 100, you can do 100. Now, this add-on is saved to your Blender file. So what's cool about that is if it crashes, you can just reopen it and all the settings that you have already saved will be applied and you can just carry on from there. So if it does crash and you want to start at 10, because you crashed at 10 and you want to start over, you can go from there. So we're just going to do 10 of the 100, and then we're also going to run an EV render. So from here we can generate NFTs. As you can see on the bottom, it says batch 1, NFT 1 to 10. And then we can go back to our folder and you'll see that we now have batch 1, which has our 3D files, our images, as well as our metadata. So just starting with the 3D images, I'm going to drag and drop this into Blender so you can have a look. We can say import FBX, and just like that, we now have the files from that exact generation. So that's how the 3D export format works. We can have a look at the images. So because these are EV, they ran out a lot quicker. Still looks really good because all my garments are using procedural textures and not images. So these garments will look great in both EV and cycles. And then we also have our metadata. So I'm just going to open this up in VS Code for you. So you can see we have our name, symbol, description, seller fee, basis points, image, which is the image of the NFT, external, which is your website. Then we have your trade type, which is bottoms, value, etc., as well as your wallet address. Now for generation where maybe you don't want a top, it will say none, because I know that it does carry over values and we can't just leave it blank. So I have coded it in that way so that for Solana specifically, you are able to change all of that. Then just another thing to add is you don't have to delete any of these files. You can just run a new render and it will create a new batch. If you hit final renderer and you say generate NFTs, as you can see in the file structure, it says batch 2 and it's now started rendering one by one. Now, it will take a lot longer because we're now using cycles, so just bear that in mind. It will use your render settings in your Blender file, so that's also something to consider. Now going over your output settings, you can set them to whatever you want. So I have my resolution to 2000. Normally you want to make files as small as possible. What I do suggest is setting your resolution to a higher pixel count and then compressing your PNG or whatever your image format is to make the file size smaller, but also keep the quality. Because when you render at 1000 by 1000, it does start to get very small. Your output location doesn't matter because it's set up to your export details in the add-on. And then your sampling, that's totally up to you. Obviously, the higher end your PC is, the higher samples you can go, but I wouldn't suggest anything over 350 if you're rendering in 2000 by 2000 pixels. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please make sure to drop a like, comment, and sub if you're new here. And if you do purchase this add-on and want to add some new features that maybe aren't in there, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to add them for free, just to make the add-on a better experience for everybody. And if you are in the market for somebody to help you with your collection, please feel free to reach out to me. All my information is in the description.